All right, so you went to school, you're a woman engineer, and you started a YouTube channel because you saw this niche. What does your day job look like right now outside of the YouTube?
Well, I'm a programmer and web developer for a really small startup company, and they are allowing me to work 4 hours a day, 4 hours a day. So normally it's more. But whenever I want to or whenever I can and say like, hey guys, I want to do something else today, then they don't care, which is a really cool deal because they just care if my job is done. If it's done, they don't care if I'm in China, in US, in
Hmm.
Europe. They are just like, okay, your job is done. Cool, Lexie, congratulations.
Okay,
So that's, yeah, that's working.
so you were able to get a job that allows you to work 4 hours a week, and then you're putting the rest of your time into is it the social influence stuff?
Yeah, and also into a side jobs. The 4 hour thing is just like my main income. I have a couple of places where I'm getting money from.
Okay, and that's like more of a consulting basis.
It's consulting, it's doing some job as IT manager for one company. It's doing a couple of things connected with graphics or influencer jobs with photos, videos, and so on.
Okay, so you've got a little bit going on a couple different fronts.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
like 12 hours a day.
All right. So then you talked a little bit about why you started a YouTube channel, but what made you, commit to it and just start posting consistently online? Like what's the drive for you to start it and to continue doing what you're doing right now?
Well, that's kind of emotional story for me because it was back in 2016, I think. I was on the drum racing event in Ireland. It was called Irish Drum Nationals. And I was the only girl there. And I was so used to the fact that I'm always the only girl. It's fine, fine. I was making fun of myself that I should get a first place in the women category. And it was so funny. And on this event, I saw a girl. She was maybe like 5, 6 years old. And she was looking at all the event really like it was a picture, the best cartoon she ever saw, the most beautiful thing she has ever seen. And I thought, hey, I'm gonna just, go to her and say hi, because she's a little girl. I'm kind of a little girl too, so I would just go. And I asked her, like, hey, do you like it? And how are you feeling? And she said something that really hurted me. It was really hurting because she said that I would like to do such things too. And I said, what's stopping you? And she replied, as a 6 year old girl, I mean, come on, I was talking with a 6 year old. She said, that's for boys.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and I was just there like, why? Why for boys? And she said, boys always do the cool stuff. And I was so shocked. I was like, what do you mean? Like, what? And she says, I like computers at school, but the teacher said that the computers are for boys and the boys are doing cooler stuff on computers. She said that on this event, there's just boys flying. And I was like, no, 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 I'm flying too. And she looked at me for the first time with such big eyes, like, really? And I was having goggles on my head, and I was having my team t-shirt, and I was holding the drum, and I wanted to show her. And she was so shocked looking at me, and she asked, why are you doing boy stuff? And it really hurted me because I felt like, hey, I'm doing whatever she wants to do, but she doesn't believe that she can do it because she was told that it's not for her. So that was the day when I realized that we always say to the little girls that, yeah, you can do it. And then this little girl is going whatever, and it's like the esports, hey, you can do it. And then you see teams of 30 guys, and she's like, no, I can't.
Hmm.
There's no girls in there.
So
And
how far into your journey did this happen? Was this before you started the YouTube channel?
that was after I just started, and I wasn't really doing much with
Okay.
it. I was posting like one video a month when I felt like it, and I was like, oh, it's kind of fine. But this little girl, I was talking with her for like half an hour. I actually skipped my round. I didn't know about it. But she was telling me all the things that she wants to do and all the things that everyone was always telling her that she cannot do. And that was the moment when I also realized that all the boys want to be firefighters and police officers and go to army and save the world and be everyone. And girls want to be princesses because in cartoons and everything, you have princess girls and the guys who are saving them and so on and so on. And you don't really see much girls in the high ranks in sports and anything. So those little girls don't really see that they can be someone. They don't see that they can be a scientist. They don't see that they can do a lot of other things. And after 2 weeks after this race, actually I got a message on my fan page. I was having like 50 likes. And that was a message from her grandfather. And he told me that after talking with me, because he knew me, he was a fan, but when he saw me talking with his granddaughter, he said, I'm not going there. He told me that she started flying drones. She got a little small one like this big one.
Oh,
and
wow.
She started doing the computer stuff because I told her that she can, and I showed her that I'm doing computer stuff too. And that was the click in my mind when I said, I need to show more girls, women, boys and men that everyone can be whoever they want, doesn't matter who is telling them what. And that became my life motto. Like, if someone tells you that you can't do something, you say, I can, I will, watch me.
That's awesome. That's a really powerful story to get you going.
It was really life-changing.
So I looked at some of your earlier YouTube videos, and some of them were a little bit more like, you fly a drone, and then, that's mostly the video. And then at some point, you brought your personality into it. So after this talk with this girl, is that when that transition happened? You brought more of your personality to your content?
Well, I was actually in a pretty toxic relationship back then. And I was being told that I suck, I cannot do anything, I shouldn't be showing myself, blah, blah, blah. And just after I cut it off, I decided that I will start doing things not the way everyone tells me that I have to do stuff, but in the way that I want to do it and I feel is right. Just basically, I was the victim of people telling me what I cannot do by myself. Right. And I was having like a month of transition when I finished the toxic relationship, when I saw the little girl, when I talked to her, and that was like a month or two when I actually changed all of my views for life.
Yeah, that's huge. So your mission is also something that you personally relate to, that you've struggled with yourself. I think that's powerful. So when you started your social influence, and let's say when you started bringing more of your personality into it, and after
that's when I skyrocketed for a little bit.
Yeah, so after you did that transition, actually, how much after talking with this girl was it before you made that transition to bringing more of your personal self into your influence?
I think it was right away, because I thought that I need to show more of, not that you have this person who's flying the drone and it looks cool, but you have this girl that's really small, really fun, and she doesn't care what people say, but she's just doing her stuff.
So was it a conscious choice for you when you made that decision to become a social media influencer?
Yes, I was doing a lot of public speaking for organizations like Big Girls Carrots or Women in Technology. And I used to also be a teacher at this time. So I was teaching classes about the 3D creations, programming, and so on. And I was having just a really tough year seeing the differences between what people tell you that you have to do as a person. It doesn't matter if you're a girl or boy. Mm-hmm. And that was basically the year when I started to put more of myself into the videos, and I started to add more and more things that I thought were important. So it was like a huge transition for me, and it took me a while.
I mean, aside from being told that, you weren't supposed to do it this way, when you started bringing more of yourself, were there any barriers that you had to overcome? Like,
yeah.
Do you mind talking a little bit about that?
Okay, don't get me wrong. Anyone who's listening and he's a guy and he says not everyone is like that, I know. 99% of people I meet are amazing. There's just always this 1% who can destroy everything for everyone. It doesn't matter the hobby, gender, or anything. But I was getting comments like, why won't you show more of your body? Or really sexist comments, a lot. I was having a lot of friends, the girly friends that tried to follow my adventure, and some of they actually dropped it because they said that they were having such private messages and comments that they couldn't stand it anymore. And I get it. I'm still getting really nasty messages from time to time. I was accused of doing really unholy stuff. I was accused of being hateful towards women, and a couple of people actually made a huge things about it. And I was like, dude, what the hell? It's sometimes really hard because people are jealous in general. So I like to believe that if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong. If you have haters, it's all good. It's all fine. So I think the most things that I'm struggling with are connected with people being jealous or people not really feeling good about themselves and not really going through the transition that I went through. But I understand it because I also have been in a place really dark, really down. And I discovered that putting people up is giving me more energy than putting others down. But I understand that some people don't get it still. And I'm trying to talk to every single one of my haters. Like someone leaves me a really hateful comment saying that you suck, you don't fly well, why are you having sponsorships, you are awful, blah, you just getting it because you're a girl. And I'm trying to talk to them, and some of them talk to me back, and some of them actually, feel inspired, but some of them just delete their comments or go after me somewhere else on social media.
Okay. So how you overcome those challenges is that you try to address each one, and then haters are going to hate, and you can't really do much about that, but you can try to change mindsets on as many of those people as you can.
Well, I'm trying to talk to people because I know that talking to people may be eye-opening. I'm trying to answer every single one of the private messages that I'm getting, except a couple of those that are really suspicious, because I've been here long enough to know that if someone sends you a picture, do not click it.
Mm-hmm.
Do not. So it's a funny thing, but yeah. But I'm trying to talk to people. Sometimes when I'm seeing that there's like a storm about something that I have said or done and someone misunderstood, I'm just leaving it be until someone else puts another perspective into it, because it's nonsense to answer sometimes. But my friends are helping me a lot with the hate that I'm sometimes getting, but it's getting a little bit better, I think.
That's good. Do you think that it's getting better because of how you're handling it, or just because you just keep going and eventually people are saying that, you're not going to change being who you are?
Well, I think some of the people get bored with trying to poke me and tell me how much I suck, and I'm still being like, yay, world is beautiful. I think that's also making people mad. I mean, that's something that my dad told me once, that if you want revenge on someone, be happy. There's nothing that pisses off people more than you being happy. So I'm just keep going. I'm every single time I'm having a lot of hate that's really overwhelming. I have a box in my home full of printed comments, letters, private messages, and I'm just going through all of those comments of women, men, grandparents, children. Sometimes I have really cool letter from a little girl. She's like 10, I think, right now, and she was writing a letter because her dad told her that if she will write me a letter, she will get my stickers. So I sent her a box full of stickers. She's happy. But it's really, when you get hate and you read why you're doing this and you see that it's working, it's really giving all the power back.
Right. So since you talked a little bit about your gratitude box, or, the box full of all the comments and letters, do you mind going into a little bit of that? Like, is there like a memorable story of someone, aside from one that you've mentioned already, that's reached out to you and said how you've made an impact on them?
I'm actually getting a lot of them. It's not always someone who decided to go to drones or FPV, but I have a couple of people who I'm in contact with and we became friends. I was having a guy, his name is Matt, from US, and he was really depressed. He really thought that the world is a bad place. And then he stumbled upon my video and he said that I'm not interested in drones, I'm not interested in any of this, but sometimes when I see you, how you are handling stuff and how you are just trying to make people happy and show the happy parts of life, it's making my life a little bit better. And I didn't know that I was talking with him over Facebook, Instagram, and so on, because, he had different nicknames. but he said that the fact that I'm answering every single person and talking to them, and if someone feels bad and I'm having time to answer and be like, hey, you're awesome, and, you know, try to be encouraging, he said that it actually helped him a lot to pursue the things that he's really passionate about.
That's great. And especially since you work 12-hour days and you have all these jobs and you keep up with your community, that means that you've got a lot of drive to keep that community going. And that, I think it's really rewarding. At the end of the day, it makes me happy to know that I made someone else happy. Yeah, that's great. It's viral. So how has being an influencer changed you, thinking back to who you were, let's say, after talking to this little girl, to who you are today? How has being an influencer changed you?
Well, I think I'm trying to stay out of phone a lot. So being an influencer will make you stay out of social media for a lot of time during the day. After 10 p.m., I'm not touching my phone. I have it set to do not disturb up until 5 a.m. So no one can reach me unless my family, fine. But I think that's the biggest change. No, maybe the biggest change is the fact that I started to think in other categories than I used to. I used to think that I have to push myself to be super successful, and I was thinking that I need millions of people following me, and I realized that being successful on social media doesn't necessarily mean a lot of numbers, but it means the influence that you give to other people. And I think that after I got the message from the girl's grandpa, I felt something like pop in myself and being like, you changed someone's life. Good job, Lexie. And that actually made me want to help more people, want to support more people. And I think I have never felt that way. I always thought that you need to work for yourself and you are the most important person in your life. And now I'm just like, hey, who needs help today? So right. I think I got more positive. I became a little bit more happy. Maybe not a little bit, a lot happier. And I started traveling the world. I started to live this dream life, goals, and so on. And it's really rewarding. It makes me really happy to meet up with fans on drone racing events or other events. And I don't know, it makes me feel like my mind kind of exploded and opened to other things that it used to be open to.
Yeah, that's amazing. So doing social media is a lot of work, and you know, you already have a lot of work on your plate. So have you ever struggled with motivation? And if so, do you mind going into maybe an example of when you really struggled and how you powered through it?
Yeah, so I used to do 3 videos a week, and I went into a wall, and I was having like 3 weeks of not posting anything because I felt so burnt off and I really didn't want to do it. And I felt like, oh my God, no. And then I decided to just switch to 2 videos a week, just being a little bit more chilled and focus more on the community rather than on content a little bit, because I was really feeling burnt out. And sometimes it's coming back. I mean, we all have this stage when you come home and you're like, nah, not really, not today. What I'm doing is just trying to manage my time. Like, if I know that I don't want to do it, I'm just not sitting in front of my computer thinking, oh, I have to do it. What I'm doing is go for a walk, work out, or do something else. And sometimes I'm just getting back to, like, music is not fitting. Nothing works in my life. I spend 2 hours trying to find the right song. This is nonsense. And then I'm coming back next day and I'm like, oh, those 5 songs are nice. So sometimes you just need to leave yourself some time. And if you see that it's not going, just leave it be and go for a walk. It's actually helping me a lot.
Okay, that makes sense. What have you found most challenging about being a content creator so far?
That you have to keep it going. Like, for real. People like know that you will post a video every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. and if you want to do it, they will start messaging you like, Lexie, what's wrong? And you're like, I'm sick, I'm sorry. So it doesn't matter that you are sick, it doesn't matter, anything does not matter. You have to post it. You just have to. And you have to have ideas, you have to stay inspired, you have to always have something to show people. And I think that's the most challenging thing, to keep the content going and keep being inspired, because sometimes you have those days and weeks and months when you don't really feel inspired and you're like, what am I supposed to do now? So I think that's really challenging.
Okay. Do you usually create content and then post it, or do you have a backlog where you have like a week or 2 or 3 of content that's scheduled out?
Well, sometimes I'm lucky enough to have some scheduled content. I'm just going through my 2-week burnout and I'm still having some videos.
Okay.
So they're still going up until Thursday, and then I need to do something. But today I found some inspiration, so I will go and do another video. And I was like, okay, it's all going good. It's all good. So I'm going for the trip also to Scotland this weekend, so I will have some content from that. So it's going to still keep going.
Nice.
And I'm going to do some backup of the videos for myself. But now I think I have a 3-week delay. When there's a drone event, after 3 weeks, my video from this event comes. But people still watch it, so it's fine.
Yeah, I guess if it's not people that are at the event, then it's not, they're not like following the events close enough to really be impacted by the
but some people who are there also are like, oh, finally your video, I couldn't wait. And I'm like, okay, but you've been there, you know what happened, you know that I hit the plane. Well, you're not shocked seeing it.
That's funny.
So I think people just like watching the other part of the community that they don't see normally, because normally people are just showing basically the flight and landing and yay, and I'm trying to show all the background and all the community and not really focus on flying, just showing that you can do whatever you want with your life.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. But sometimes it's like you have event on the weekend and on Tuesday it's already a video. That means I'm out of my content.
All right, so the expediency of how fast a drone event hits the market on your YouTube channel is basically showing your backlog. All right.
Yeah. It's funny, but it's true.
Yeah, it makes sense, because that's something I've struggled with too myself. Is like I started out pretty strong to get a bunch of episodes out for the podcast, and then now I'm settling down to about 1 a week until I can get a system down, and then I'll go from there.
Yeah, it's like with people who want to make travel YouTube. You need to remember that when you do those couple of videos from your trip, you have to keep going.
Right.
That's starting to be a problem.
Makes sense. So what's inspiring you most about the future? You've got so many things going on. What's inspiring you most about the future?
I'm now trying to actually make some changes in my channel and add some more educational stuff, because I think I got into a half a year of stagnation of just making vlogs from the events, and I think that's kind of getting boring. So I'm also trying to show a little bit more of travel, because we are traveling a lot, but we never do videos from this, and there's so many amazing places on the planet Earth. So we want to do a little bit more of travel. We want to do a little bit more about Tesla, because we have Tesla cars. And people are really interested in them, but at the same time, when I post about Tesla, I'm getting comments like, how do you got this car? It's so expensive and you're so young. I bet you did stuff that's unholy. And I wasn't really ready for such comments, but I think that now I can kind of push it through. So I'm trying to, keep inspired by doing other things or collaborating with other people, or just sometimes change the pace. Because if I would be doing just the vlogs for like a year and 2 and 3 and 4, I would get bored by myself.
So you actually reached out to me. You're friends with Nick, or you've met Nick before at FPV events. Do you mind talking a little bit about your relationship with him, or how you met? And
with Nick, actually, Nick is responsible for my vlogs.
Okay.
I think I have it somewhere still on my Instagram, a screenshot when Nick said Lexie Logs should be a thing, should be somewhere back in 2016. And we started chatting, we were friends a little bit, and then he put a comment that Lexie Logs should be a thing. A lot of people said that yes, it should. You should start doing vlogs and show yourself more. And I started doing it, and we talked with Nick, and he was really supportive about it. Back then, I think he started with DRL, the Drone Racing League, and he was the popular guy, and I was just sitting there like, hey, Nick, what do you think? Is it good? Nick, hey, answer me. So that was actually fun. We became friends. We actually met face to face for the first time this year in Las Vegas. No, last year in Munich. Yeah, that was the first time we actually met, and he came to me and he was like, "You're real." So that was fun. It's really fun that you have so many friends all around the globe, but with some of them, you know them for years. You know every single detail about their lives, but you haven't seen them.
Right.
So when you see a person for the first time, you're like, "Woo!"
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool. You know, I found Nick because he was making drone videos, and he was in the Atlanta area, which is where I'm at, and then at the time he's in Australia. So I reached out to him and just asked if he wanted to come on the podcast, and he did. And then it's funny how, you know, you reached out, and then, you know, Nick's influenced you, and
yeah. Well, I'm always trying to, you know, follow up stuff to be like, hey, drones are for boys, and then you're like, no, he's a girl. Right. I'm just trying, so it's also helping me. Like, I'm doing some public speaking in Las Vegas this year in Inter-Drone Conference, and I'm all really happy that about FPV and drone racing, there's just one speaker, and she's a girl. So it's sending much different message than a bunch of guys talking about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what's your plan for your other social platforms? I know you're pretty active on YouTube. You're pretty active on Instagram. And you talked about wanting to create more videos and travel and stuff like that. But what about your other platforms as far as the future goes? Do you have much plans to tackle them harder, or are you going to stick with focusing on these couple and keep continuing those? Just curious on your strategy around that.
Yeah, I think my pillars of social media are YouTube and Instagram. So I'm trying now to make a little bit more creative content on my Instagram. I actually have scheduled 4 posts that I'm so excited about. I'm looking at them in my planning application. I'm like, oh, I want to upload you now. Oh my God, you're so amazing. So that's it for Instagram. I'm making courses and trying to make it better. So I'm trying to tackle that and gain more following a little bit and get more women to my platform, because not many women are watching. I mean, 10% is about 2,000 women, but it's still something. Right? Yeah, it should be 2,000. But I want to tackle a little bit YouTube and Instagram and the other ways right now. So I'm now going through a little bit of a change. I also set up my website not so long ago. My Facebook for now is mostly random thoughts and links from YouTube and Instagram. So it's like a platform that's mixing those two, but I'm trying to figure out something new and fresh that would make people also be interested in my Facebook. It's really hard and complicated at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. Have you thought of having a community hub? Like, do you have like a Facebook group or a Discord group or anything like that?
Well, I'm thinking about setting up a Facebook group because I want to make a little bit more of educational videos on how to edit videos and how to grow your social media for people who are following me and asking me a lot of questions about it. Maybe do something like a University of Maionhigh. So I will make a group for people who joined the university, and I would be able to talk to them a little bit more. That would be actually pretty awesome. That's in my plans. But like 2 months, give me 2 months to make content for that.
Yeah, I get that. We're talking about the future here. So.
Yeah, we're talking about the future. I mean, it's planned. I'm starting to write scripts. I'm starting to make points of what to cover, but still, you need to give me some time.
All right. So moving on from that, what's your favorite part about being a content creator?
Being able to actually create something that I will come back to. I used to treat my YouTube channel and my Instagram as my diary because I suck at writing, and then I could have my videos and come back to them, and every single member of my family was looking at them, which actually created a problem with the phone calls because every time I was like, hey mom, I was in China, and she's like, yeah, I know, I watched it. Oh, how are you? Oh, same old, same old. Well, good talking to you, I guess. You know, so that's a problem also of being a content creator. You cannot talk with your family because they're always like, I know. But yeah, I think it's funny at the same time. I think that's the best part of it, that you can actually come back to the stuff that you have done and look back to the things that you have done and being proud of them. So it doesn't matter if you are creating videos, photos, you are having a really good community. You can always come back to it and being like, I've done it, and it's amazing.
I like that. And I think it's pretty funny how you said that you post about a trip and then you just talk to your family like, I know, yeah.
Yeah, it's really frustrating, you know. I was talking to my mom and I was like, hey, so my monthly update, you know, I've done this, and she's like, I know it all. I'm like, I'm gonna be a speaker at the conference. I know. You don't have Facebook. I'm using your sister's Facebook. And I'm like, I'm done.
How does that look then? Like, what do you talk about if she already knows everything?
I'm trying to talk about my cats because she doesn't know anything about my cats and she loves them. So I'm just saying, hey, you know what? Kiki did this and Gummy did that. And she's like, oh, that's cute. So that's my main point of talking with my mom.
All right. So if you were to meet someone on the street, it sounds like you get a lot of questions from people asking for tips and advice for starting social influence. You know, what would be some of the advice you'd give to someone who asks you like, hey, you know, I want to start out, or I'm just starting out, and you know, what direction should I go, or what advice would you give to those people?
Well, my first advice to everyone is please do not make your profile private, because a lot of people ask me like, what can you check my Instagram and tell me what I'm doing wrong because I don't have followers, and I click it and it's a private account and I'm like, get it public. I think consistency is a key. So if people know that you will post something this and this day is helping. And just trying to talk to people and being active and not just leave a post and being like, hey, I made this, here's my cup of coffee of the morning, and yay. And people are commenting and you're not answering and they are just like, coffee, amazing. So show yourself as a human being rather than being an account on social media like a company, because you're not a company, you're a person and you are so amazing, I'm sure of that. Everyone is special, everyone has something to show, do, and everything, and just show it, make it go there. Don't be like everyone else, try to show yourself, don't copy everyone, don't be like, oh, it worked for him, maybe it will work for him but not work for you, and just be there for people. Don't be just a blank something.
Yeah, that's great advice. So let's say that you know, you meet someone who already has a YouTube channel, is more established. You know, you've gotten pretty good engagement. You've got solid view counts comparably to your subscriber base. So do you have any tips or advice for people to level up that you feel like you're doing that's different than the average YouTuber or Instagrammer or influencer?
Keep learning. Be open to learn new stuff, because if something's working for a period of time, it doesn't matter that it will work in a year or two, because the competition on social media is huge. Keep learning new stuff, be open to critique and to ideas of others, and make sure that you always learn something new or do something new, or just, you know, be a better person every day if you can. So I'm doing a lot of courses. I know that I'm still lacking a lot to professional videos, but I'm doing so many courses to make myself better in it. And every single time I'm getting some comments that, oh, this got better and this got better. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing good. So just keep learning and be open to gain more knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, I heard you earlier mention that you're taking a course on Instagram. Do you mind going into the courses a little bit, like where you're finding these courses, or what type of courses you're doing, or any that you particularly liked that you thought were really good?
Well, my newest course that I just finished was called Advanced Selfie by Sorel Amour. So the problem is that I don't want to get my husband as a Instagram husband who's taking pictures and so on. So I decided I will do my selfies myself, and I've been following Sorel on YouTube for a really long time already, and I thought that, hey, she's making courses, I can pay her and support her as YouTuber and do her first. So it was really eye-opening, and it really, you know, leveled up my work when it goes to doing selfies or doing pictures in general. So that was pretty cool. Also, it's really important to know the environment you are working with. So if you are using Photoshop or Lightroom, take a course for Lightroom and Photoshop. If you are using Final Cut Pro like me, take a course for the Final Cut Pro, because yeah, you can figure it out yourself. Yeah, you can Google it a little, but what the course can give you on Udemy or Stack Skills or stuff like that, is actually life-changing, and it can give you even more knowledge about stuff. And don't be afraid to ask people or ask YouTuber or Instagrammer, hey, how did you do it? Because there is a high chance that they will answer or do something with it, or someone else will tell you.
Okay, that's great advice. And these other courses you talked about, like Final Cut Pro, Photoshop, Lightroom, is there
I'm
like
doing mostly Udemy.
Udemy?
Yeah, I
Okay.
like Udemy.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing your why. I'd like to end the episode with giving you an opportunity to talk about your brand, your social accounts, your merch, and anything else you'd like to share with our audience.
Follow me on YouTube, Instagram, and everywhere as Maionhigh. Yeah, I think that's it. I promise to be positive and feed you good stuff.
All right. Any last words or anything else you feel like you'd like to share?
Yeah, to everyone who feels that they struggle or that they don't feel inspired, or that my parents are telling me that it's not good or what I'm doing is not good. You can, you will, they will watch you. And my mom actually told me I will never get money out of staring at the computer, so I became a programmer. And then my mom told me that drones will never give me anything because it's a toy, and now she's proud of me. You need to remember that the things that I'm doing right now, when I was at school, they haven't existed yet. So it is really possible that your parents or people around you will not get what you want to do. But if you are really passionate about it, just do it, give it a chance, because if you will not give it a chance, you will never know if that would work. If it won't work, oh well. If it will, awesome. So just give chances, take risks, and be open to learn.
That's huge advice, and yeah, I live by that too. I've had that exact experience about doing something crazy, and my parents are just like, "Oh, you know, it's not going to work," and then I just do it anyway, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm proud of you." Da-da-da.
Yeah, exactly. So the coolest things are out of your comfort zone.
Right. Well, Lexie, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your why and being vulnerable with us. I look forward to seeing your influence keep on growing.
Thank you very much.
Well, that concludes the interview. Thanks so much for sticking it through to the end. Lexie, thanks again for coming on the show and being vulnerable with us and sharing your why. Lexie shared a ton of value with us today, and I'll just reiterate a few points that touched me. The first is her purpose. She had a YouTube channel that she started. She posted some drone videos on, but didn't really have her personality in it. And she didn't really feel comfortable posting her personality because she was told that she shouldn't or that she's not good at it. And she was at a drone event, and she impacted a girl so much that her grandfather contacted her after and said how much of an impact she had. That really gave her the motivation to bring her personality into the mix and really start influencing on a larger scale, because she knew that she had a message that she needed to share, that she needed to push out there. I actually sent her a quote after the interview that came from Devon Brown from our episode 12, where he said that if you have a message that makes impact, you're ripping the world off if you're not going as big as possible. And I actually sent that to her and just commented how, you know, she has a message that is really impactful and making a difference. She is going to rip the world off if she's not going out there and spreading it and saying women can do these things, or just inspiring people with whatever it is that she's doing through example and through sharing her life. As far as community goes, this is something that comes up pretty often, which is, you know, a lot of times people think that they need millions of followers to really feel like they have an impact. But Lexie talked about how even the small influence is really fulfilling, and getting these letters from people, getting people to message her and talk to her, or comments, like all this feedback that she's getting is really fulfilling. She doesn't need millions of followers to have the fulfillment of building a community of people and making impact. I like that Lexie talked about how she became more positive, more happy, she traveled more, and she's chasing more of her life's dreams as a result of doing her social media influence. It's given her the confidence. She's pushed herself out of the box. She's making impact on other people. That's building her confidence. And she's just on this trajectory that's making her just go down some path that is unfolding in front of her. And I think that's exciting. Lexie talked about the struggle of that you just have to keep it going. Like, it's for real. You have to post. You have to stay inspired. You always have to keep showing people content. You got to be consistent. And that's stuff that a lot of people don't really fully understand when they create content or start posting online and thinking that they want to do a social influence, is that you have to be consistent. You have to push through that struggle, and it's real. I thought it was pretty funny how she has her monthly call with her mom, and she has a hard time having conversation because her mom is watching all her content and is updated with a lot of stuff that's going on in her life. I drilled into that a little bit more because I'm just curious what that feels like. And then she finds that talking about her cats are things that are off her social media, but something that her mom cares about is something that's the topic of discussion a lot of times. Lexie shared a ton of advice with us. She talked about how on Instagram you shouldn't make your profile private. You want to make it public so people know that they want to follow you when they find your profile. Consistency is key. You want to try to talk to people, be active, reply to comments, show yourself as a human, not just as an account or a company. Everyone's special, and show yourself and don't copy others. You just want to be your authentic self, post consistently, and be open. And that sounds like the secret sauce that she has for new influencers. Lexie's really big into learning and self-development. That's definitely apparent in how she is and how she talks. She talked about if you're using certain tools, you should be taking courses on those tools. If you're learning Final Cut, Photoshop, Lightroom, whatever tool you're using, take a class on it and get better at it because you're using that tool, and getting better at it will be helpful. She took a course on Instagram, how to take selfies, just constantly learn and learn how to do things better. Don't hesitate to ask people for advice. Lexie even says she tries to reply to every single message. So if you have a question for her, shoot her a message on Instagram or whatever platform you use and tell her you heard her on the Wine Influence podcast, and then ask her a question, seek some advice from her, and maybe she'll even send you a link to her Facebook group once she creates that so you can engage with other people that are trying the same things. Lexie has a lot of value to add to the world, and I think this is just the beginning. You guys probably agree with me. I look forward to seeing her evolve, and we talked after the interview, and we all agreed that Lexie should come back on the show sometime in the future, maybe when her why changes, maybe when she makes a big pivot in what she's doing. But we want to get updates on Lexie's journey, and so she's talked about coming on the show again in the future, and she'll reach out when she feels like it's the right time to come back on and share an update with us. Now, how's my journey going with the podcast? I asked Lexie for feedback after the interview. She doesn't do podcasting. She doesn't do a lot of podcast interviews. So she felt she didn't have a lot of feedback to give. She thought I did a good job. She thought that it felt like a conversation. It felt natural. And she said that people like natural. So she just mostly had a lot of compliments, which is a positive for me because it's just, no feedback is good feedback right now as I'm getting more comfortable and getting better at doing interviews. I think it's pretty awesome that this podcast opened doors for me to interview Nick from Wild Willy FPV in episode 9. And Lexie contacted me telling me that she enjoyed the episode and she loved the opportunity to come on the show as a result of that because she's friends with Nick. So the podcast has opened doors for me to connect with Lexie. So it's just sort of, multi-channel now, multiple layers. I'm now 2 layers deep into having doors opening, and it's just interesting how that's taking play because this would have never happened if I didn't have this podcast. Lexie would have never reached out to me, and I would have never extracted her story for the world to hear. I feel pretty good about how the podcast is going. When I started out, I had quite a few episodes in the pipeline, so I was able to ramp up pretty quickly. And now I've sort of slowed down to an average of about 1 episode a week. Man, I don't know what was going on with my mic. But anyway, I'd like to do more episodes, and I just feel like I need to streamline my process and then maybe try to get some help. Maybe get someone can help me with editing. Maybe I can get some help with contacting people and getting more guests to come on the show. I'm looking forward to trying to go to a couple of conferences and networking with other influencers and trying to get more of an influx of guests. That's probably the biggest thing I struggle with right now is getting more guests. I'm glad that Lexie reached out and she seemed like a good fit. I hope that more people like Lexie will reach out. I'd love to bring more people on the show that are out there spreading powerful messages. I think that's it for the update. I'll be doing an update after I do the 20th interview. This is number 16, so another 4 more episodes, and then we'll be doing another major update. I'll have Nathan interview me and extract an update. So if you have any questions that you want Nathan to ask me during that interview, you can send them to me, and I'll make sure that we answer those or address those during the interview. As far as community goes and this podcast, there's not much community right now. I create a podcast episode, I post it, it gets views, maybe someone leaves a review in iTunes, and that's it. I don't really hear from people. There's no real interaction. So Bruce from episode 13 suggested that we have a community hub. He used Facebook, so I created a Discord group. If you're interested in joining our Discord group and joining our community, then you'll be one of the first people in the group. So just go to Y Influence website, so whyinfluence.com. Scroll to the bottom, and in the footer, there's a link to join the Discord group. And when you click that, you can join Discord. If you don't have Discord, it'll give you a prompt to create an account or to download the app. But that's just where I decided that I'm going to put the community hub for Y Influence is going to be in Discord. So yeah, that's about it. We're going to have all the show notes and all the links to Lexie's social media on our website. So go to yinfluence.com and navigate to episode 16. That's Lexie's interview. And it's going to have links to all her social accounts. If she has the Facebook group created by then, I'm going to link it there. But it sounded like she's not going to have it in time. Aside from that, just join the Discord group and post something in there and start engaging with our community, because that's where our community is going to sit, and we'd love to have you join us on Discord. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.